Shut up. Of course.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Bkfc Reddit Ask Me Anything. I wasn't sure if you were talking to me or the dogs there, Josh. Stay down, Watson.
The dogs, definitely the dogs. It was just perfect timing. They've been silent, and then you know they speak up the moment we start talking.
Okay, so that's what you post your dogs more than you post anything fighting related. Like, so you foster dogs, right? But how many of your own dogs do you have, and then how many dogs do you foster?
I have three Frenchies. I bred one of them. One of them is a puppy from that breeding. Um, at one point in time, I had six dogs, five of them being Frenchies. And then my pit bull passed away. I'm down to like three, and it's like I don't know, like I don't know how to explain it. Almost like an empty nest thing, where I'm like, I got time, I got space. I'm used to dealing with a lot of them, and there's an organization out here called Retired to Rescue, and it's about dogs that get like turned out. They're done breeding. They can't have any
Sure.
more litters, or um, a breeder will be like, this dog's going to be an awesome stud, and then when they get to maturity, they check them, and their samples crap. So they're like, well, this dog's not worth anything to me. So they surrender them. And this woman, Amanda, she picks them up and turns around and fixes them, fosters them. And, sometimes these dogs spend, 2-3 years of their entire life in a kennel with no socialization, no getting housebroken, none of that stuff. So it's not just fostering a dog and holding on to them. It's, training them too, and getting them socialized so that when they do go to a house, they're pretty close to being ready to fit in with the family and fit in with the household. I
So
don't know.
we
Fun.
recently got another dog, and we had looked at a Frenchie, and the lady said the Frenchies are like little divas, and she had told us to not get a Frenchie. She said that they're very difficult. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, it's funny. Somehow, some of the specific coats, the traits that go with the color patterns, kind of the divas, definitely for sure. The merles, especially the white merles, are the most problematic when it comes to being a diva, and that's actually one of mine. Is probably the one I post the most. Ghost. She is a white merle, and she's the puppy in the house, the smallest in the house, and she's the absolute alpha. And the foster dogs have to deal with her kind of. With this one, this dog, I've put away all the bones. They're not really sharing well, and the ghost, she'll like somebody will be playing with a bone, or she'll come over and be like, "No, that's mine." And then like she'll leave the bone that she's playing, and then she'll go play with this one. And then the other dog's like, "Oh, well, you're done with this one." She's like, "No, no, no, that's mine too. You can't touch that one. That's mine as well." So I remove the bones to remove the problem, so they can kind of socialize better rather than having beef over possessions.
Okay, the last time we saw you was on the Sturgis card. Sturgis is coming up. I legit thought we weren't going to see you fight again until Sturgis. Were they talking about putting you on Sturgis? You had a hell of a pop in Sturgis. You've got the look. People love you. And you had a great fight in Sturgis. Were they talking about putting you there? And you asked me, because I know you're actually from the East Coast. So did you want to fight in front of your fans, or were you thinking about doing
Yeah,
Sturgis again?
I wanted to fight in front of my fans. You know, as we always talk, old and getting towards the end of it, and I've been wanting to at least be able to show up back home and have like a good showing, at least one more time out there before I hang it up. Because I started my career out there. I had all my majority of my MMA fights out there. Have a huge following, and when I started MMA, it wasn't legal in Maine. So everybody already traveled to Massachusetts and Western Mass. So all these fans that have been sticking around with me since 2007, they're used to traveling. They're used to going down to, Western Mass. So going just to Connecticut, it's not that big of a deal, especially since they haven't seen me fight since 2012. So I got a lot of people. I got the ticket promo given me finally today, I've been having people just every single day, every day. When can we get tickets? When? Just going like to a point of being annoying, but I turn around and then I'm annoying to Bkfc asking them because I don't want to miss out on the ticket sales. Less for the percentage that I get kickback, more so for I want to show them that I have a big fan base out there. I want to show because I remember the first time I mentioned it was after McElroy. They did the event at the Mr. Olympia where they did a tryout, and I was just hanging out, just having a good time. And I was telling Dave and Nate and everybody, I'm like, get a fight in New England. I'm like, I will sell it out. Like one of my favorite claims is, we had a fight in Portland, Maine. I was living in Vegas and I sold $17,000 worth of tickets. Like that was, and I want to say my keep on that was like 20%. So
nice.
Hell yeah. Like, yeah. Oh yeah. Like it was like half of my purse. So, like I have a huge following. I have a bunch of fans out there and, I've been living out here now for 15 years. So I want to be able to go back there and fight in front of my friends.
Did it kind of hurt? You made a post the other day saying, hey, look, this is probably the last time I'm fighting in front of you guys out here. Like, does it kind of suck knowing you don't have, you probably aren't going to be going back out there, or you don't care?
I mean, shit, I've been saying it's my last fight for the last 4 years. It's just the realization of it because I would say that like there's like a little bit of like a time warp in the sense of time's been going on, but like I haven't been out there 15 years, so like it's something that's easily to forget that like we're all getting old, we're all everybody thinks that like someone lives in Vegas and they have that easy ass lifestyle and they're always trading and all this awesome like equipment, like all this badass stuff accessible to us, and it's like, no, we're all old, we're all getting to the end of whatever the hell it is. So but realistically, it sucks, but it's also putting that stamp on it, being like, don't wait till next time. There's like
Sure.
a handful of people that when I would fight back home, when I was living back home, it's like they're like, oh, I couldn't make it. Next time, I'll make it next time. And it's like there's not going to be a next time. There's chances of me because I don't know if you caught. I did sign a 3-fight contract.
I did see that, yes, sir.
And like with the timeline of everything like that, it's like 3 fights. Like I'm going to probably show that I can sell really good tickets there. What's the timeline of getting back to Connecticut and me still having fights on my contract and me still being able to fight? It's like, let's be honest. This probably is the last time they'll put me in Connecticut. The last chance for everybody back home to see it. So like, I don't want to hear people being like, oh, I missed out, man. Like next time around. Yeah. I'm going to get to the next one because there isn't going to be one.
Do you find it odd that you aren't the main event? You're a guy who's in the top 5. You're facing a guy who's from the UFC. Do you think it's kind of weird that they gave, and no, slap in the face of those guys? I mean, Kleckler was ranked at one time, and it's kind of weird that you aren't the main event.
I want to say, who did Porter Parker. I can never get his name, whether it's Porter Parker, Parker Porter, whatever. Who did he fight last time around? He finished him though, right?
Yeah.
He finished him. So the last Connecticut card, you had him and DeCastro both being like UFC vets, and even though DeCastro gave his guy a humongous hematoma on the side of his head, he didn't finish his guy. So of the two of them, Porter looks better of the two. And also, I don't know, I'm assuming, Porter may be the better person to kind of, I don't know, hook the wagons up behind and try to like motivate through the company, after Kleckler's last few appearances between Gamebred and this Bkfc and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't he's, I don't think that if he was fighting Porter, he would be the main event. Porter is the reason why it's the main event. And I think it just goes back also to what we've said before. It's like, I'm on paper, I'm a nobody. I never was in the UFC. All my fans are my pre-existing fans or people who have seen me. I don't have a name that someone's going to ring in a bell and be like, oh yeah, I think I saw him on a pay-per-view once. I'm not that guy. Plus also, towards the end of my career. So I don't think that they're willing to put much, I don't know, motivation behind me. I mean, like I even was asking, I was like, look, you have DeCastro who I think he might have knocked his opponent down once.
Right.
So he has one fight. You have Porter who, has one fight. Kleckler who has, he'll have some highlights. But going into this pay-per-view, like the only person who's really got like a highlight reel is going to be me. Like, I have 3 stops. I have 1 knockout and then 2 TKOs. I actually have some footage to where like we can, Bkfc could actually make me a pretty cool friggin', 15, 20 second reel, which would be badass. I'd love it,
Right.
but they're not going to. I mean, shit. In Sturgis, they didn't make shit for me. You know what they did for me? They made the highlight of Brian Etchison knocking me out. Like, it's like rather than putting some kind of, I mean, granted, that's his only fight. And it was, at one point ranked the number 2 knockout in Bkfc history. Cool. But it's also shitting on someone else who's on the card.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's double standard. So, rather than them giving me any sort of, promotion, it's like you don't even want to put a highlight of me knocking out Hardy. Again, they wanted Hardy to do something special, but I don't think they realize how much publicity Bkfc actually got by him losing his fight rather than him winning. Him winning versus a nobody would have just gone under the radar. Like nobody would have cared. No one would have known. Him losing, it was on the front page. It was big news. And that I think did better for Bkfc. And it's like, and the outturn was, they didn't even give a shit. I got nothing out of that. Like, whatever, but back to what I was saying, I don't see why they should be putting it on there. Cause it's like, all right, cool. We're going to have a highlight reel leading up to this event. And it's like, where? So it's going to be fucking 2 seconds long. It's going to be 3 punches and, that's it. And they're probably not even going to, because again, I'm in the red corner. So they're not even going to probably do dick for me.
It sounds like you got a chip on your whole shoulder, but I don't blame you. And it's kind of funny. We just interviewed Jessica Borga and the same sort of thing. She goes, they clearly wanted me to lose to Hannah Rankin. So it gave me extra motivation to go out there and absolutely flatline her. It sounds like you've always been a guy who didn't need motivation to go out there and dethrone these hype trains. But it sounds like clearly they want to kind of promote DeCastro and you're going to go out there and try to end that.
Right. Whether they want to promote him more mainly for the fact that he was in the UFC and he is a higher standard name, cool, or the fact that he's a current local out there and, and I have to prove to them that, people are going to come see me. I have, people chomping at the bit to buy, I got the tickets out there. I bet by the end of the day, most of the front row tickets are going to be sold. Because I have, groups of like 10 that want to buy all front rows. When we, again, back to that fight in Portland, when I did the sellout, Irish hand grenade, from the UFC. Yeah, because he's from Maine. He was the only UFC guy from Maine. And he was the initial one until Mike Brown went from WBC to UFC. But he had to call the promoter and was like, hey, I need some more front row tickets. And they're like, yeah, Josh has them. They're, oh, can you call him and get some from him? He goes, no, he sold them all. I literally sold 3 of the 4 sides of the
Nice.
front row. You know, it's I have some badass fans, and the only part that sucks is that Mohegan Sun's asking for obnoxious prices for hotel ratings, so everyone's dispersing after the fact because people are staying in Airbnbs and hotels nearby rather than staying. Except I think like the cheapest room is like $590 a night.
It's kind of weird that happened when I was down. I went to last year. I went to one of the fights at the Hard Rock, and it was crazy how expensive the Hard Rock was versus a hotel that's right across the road. It's like you feel like they would try to like make a package deal for the Bkfc fans, but they do not. They don't care.
Yeah, and also at the same time, we're getting a percentage on ticket sales, and everybody's like, all right, do I hold off on getting my room? Or are you going to get some sort of kickback on that? And I'm like, no, just go ahead, buy them, buy those. Like, you're fine with that.
Sure. Okay, so your coach. What's your coach's name again?
Chris.
Okay, your coach, Chris. It's kind of funny. I reached out to him and he sent in a funny question. He said, ask him about, he said, we normally room together. After his fight against Greg Hardy, he went out and got absolutely drunk, obliterated drunk, and came in at like 3 a.m. and scared the fuck out of me because he climbed into the wrong bed.
Thing is, I wasn't even obliterated. It wasn't even that bad. I was just having it, obliterated is what people saw me in Colorado when I went to the Denver card. If anybody was around there, those people saw me obliterated. That night was bad. Post Hardy,
I was having a good
time, huh?
Yeah. Did you go pretty hard?
Oh, of course I went pretty hard. I didn't have any major injuries. I was, just kind of, just cut, nothing big. And I may or may not have tried to crawl into his bed. He's like, yo, what the fuck? And I'm like, oh, nothing. And just went over and jumped into my bed. I'm surprised that's all he asked because it's funny. He gets enjoyment out of watching my podcast because I'm like, we'll be here and then another subject. And it just fucking, as we've already done like 3 times, I just kind of ADD pretty bad.
One of my favorite things about talking to you guys is you all do have ADD. So like I always have to like try to remember to circle back and like, oh, what were we talking about? Because I get so lost in the conversation where we're going. I'm like, oh shit, he had a great point, and then I forgot.
Yeah, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one because I know I do it.
Are you able to bring? How's your training camp going? Like, do you bring anybody in specifically for somebody like DeCastro, or you just it's one of those you have your own game plan? It doesn't really matter what DeCastro does.
It's kind of my own game plan in the sense of like when I have my sparring partners, we don't sit there and be like hey, watch this film. This is what this guy does, and like try to get them to emulate it.
Sure.
The biggest thing that Chris does is he breaks down film, and 100% of our mitts is game plan. We're not doing that fancy bullshit where you're just doing like a 35 punch combo because that is unrealistic and has no place. Like my fights are going maybe 2 rounds. You know what I mean? We're not throwing a combo the entire first round, like a 1 combo round. But no, everything is game plan. We look at a person's tendencies and what they do, and we drill that in so that when I see a movement that he makes specifically, I do a reaction. The sparring aspect of it is kind of like seeing if that person, like if we're sparring and all of a sudden that person just naturally does this kind of footwork or this kind of thing, and it triggers that response for me, and it gets it out of me, that's ideal. But I don't know, the biggest thing in my eyes for sparring is working on range, feeling from where I'm safe to being able to like hit them, and also kind of like flinches, because when you go a little while without sparring and all of a sudden a punch comes at your face, you get flinchy, and you got to make sure those are long gone by the time you're stepping in the ring. I don't know. That's the biggest. I think that's one of the biggest things to gain from sparring is just kind of anticipating the punch and know they're coming. It's gonna come. You just gotta have to know it's gonna be there and be able to defend it.
Do you find it kind of weird? Like Vegas is like the mecca for MMA and a lot of boxing and stuff. But Ferreira and you are the only ones really out of Vegas who do any BKFC. It's kind of bizarre that there's not more fighters who.
Christensen. Yeah. He's at Couture's gym. I mean, shit, he's got more fights than I think me and Christina together. He's on like every third fucking card.
Oh, yeah, the one that was just in Omaha, right? Or
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't realize he was Vegas, but yeah.
I think he's got like 10 fights.
Yeah, he's got a lot. Yeah.
Well, his first card was on the same fight as me up in Montana. That was
you fight as much as he does. Yeah.
Huh?
So why don't you fight as much as he does?
I'm gonna keep that comment to myself.
No,
I'll message you that one.
Yeah.
Or my theory on that one. But no, I mean I want to but shit. I think in Omaha he was the co-main.
No, Bryce was the co-main. I think he was the feature. Like he wasn't a feature.
He was the feature. Then he was the one right before the co-main because I mean like slowly working his way up on the ranks on that one. But I don't know. Mainly because, here's the thing. Outside of Vegas, when you get to like normal areas, you have small MMA organizations. You have the little feeder things that will push out, a show every other month or every 3-4 shows a year, and you have all the local guys on it. And those local guys are the ones who are trying to show out so they can make it to the UFC, especially like shit. Like I didn't realize Montana has a shit ton of shows out there, like go back to the Northeast. There's a bunch of shows.
Right.
Vegas has none. There's Tough Enough. And that is a pure amateur cards. That's all it is.
Sure.
Because if someone's going to come to Vegas and they're going to want to watch an MMA fight, are you going to spend $40 for an OKC for an amateur fight, or are you going to spend $140 for a nosebleed? Say you went to a UFC in Las Vegas,
right?
Paying the $140. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, what I've boiled down to. Plus, also, sure, Vegas is like a little over 2 million people, but once you go outside of Vegas, there's a 4-hour halo of desert. There's nothing. You go to a small, not rural, but like an okay sized town. You do a 4-hour halo around it. You have multiple cities that people can, come in and all that stuff like that. So Vegas is almost like a little island. So for that being said, people out here, their goal is already, we're going to the UFC. And Dana White has proven it time and time again. If you don't have patience to get signed by the UFC and you go elsewhere, in the meantime, I'm not going to sign you.
Right.
He's proven that with PFL. He's proven it with Bellator time and time again. And there was a few people, at my gym that were like, oh man, I want to go do it. I want to go do Game Bread. And it was like, hey, yeah, but if you do it, like that's pretty much like putting a fucking, axe in your future UFC career. Like you're still in your 20s. Like, let's keep pushing for the UFC thing. Maybe we get that contract. Maybe it works out. Maybe it doesn't. Then we fall back to it. And I think that's the main reason is because everybody out here is, eye is on the UFC prize again, because that's really all they're seeing. That's all, you have to travel to California to see some like smaller shows. They don't have them out here. Shut it. So yeah, I think that's the biggest reason. And, and if you look at it, me and Christine are on that older, end of the spectrum of athlete,
You and Christine are two of my favorite people to talk to, though, because you keep it real. You guys. There's so many fighters who are like above the fans and like, oh, I don't want to. You guys are down there like rubbing elbows with people, and you're nice to people, and like you're very relatable. And I feel like that's why you and Christine are so loved it, and people go out of their way to follow you, like your fans in Maine come down to see you because you're so relatable and you're such a good guy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, shit, just because I get paid to jump in a ring and punch people doesn't make me any better than other people. Like just I don't know. Yeah, no, Christine's awesome. And it's funny because, her and I have such a history in itself. We've been in and out of the same gyms. I think I posted a picture, or I came across a picture of us at a Tough Enough fight, I think in like 2017. It might even been earlier than that. And then I was asking her because her and I both did a commercial shoot out at Nelson's Landing for Dana White before Contender Series was around. It was Dana White looking for a fight.
Oh,
and
sure, remember that.
Yeah, and we were part of like the filming crew thing, and it was hilarious. And a whole day of just do this. All right, now guys, do this, do this, do this, do this. And the only clip that they used out of the whole promo was him, Matt Serra, and whoever the third guy was, like walking across the road into like the desert with like a bunch of mountains behind it. That's like all that work, and that's the only shot they used for their intro.
Have you done much TV or movies or anything like that? I mean, like you have a pretty unique look. We see lots of these guys go from the UFC and from combat sports to doing movies. Keith Jardine and those type of guys. You have a pretty unique look, but you could be a badass biker in an upcoming show. Like, is that something you want to get into, or have you done it?
I would love to. It's funny you say that. I've had people for years and years tell me that, especially when I had my beard like going down off screen, like. Everybody was like, you should be on some sort of show. I heard it for the Vikings, heard it for, shit. I can't think of the name of the one that was on HBO, but like.
Oh, Game of Thrones or whatever?
Game of Thrones, that, I'm sure like some sort of biker thing. Yeah, I could do a lot of stuff. And plus also, and then on top of it, I had, growing up, always had the people being like, you should wrestle. Cause, I can be unserious and cut promos and just act like an ass. And my buddy from high school actually wrestled for WWE. He's now bumped down to TNA. Yeah, TNA. He just got back on that, and I remember going out back with him, and just everybody being like, "Yeah, you're right. Your boy would fit in just right with us." And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't got the back for taking those bumps at all." My ass is sore. I do one thing and I'm like, all right, cool. I need like 3-4 days to recover. These guys do show after show after show, night after night after night. They have, that's why majority of them are addicted to pain pills.
Right.
But yeah, my body wouldn't be able to hold up to that shit at all.
You'd be good for one show and then you're done.
Yeah. Like definitely like a special appearance kind of thing, like just all of a sudden it's like Royal Rumble and, do something cool. Yeah, definitely sign me up for that. I'm definitely not going to say no to a lot of shit and in general, but now going back to what you said before, I'd love to get into do some acting. Even at one point I even signed up for like a little thing to like get notifications.
Sure, the casting things.
Yeah. The casting things being like, hey, if something comes across that like looks like I would be able to fill into that one, hell yeah, I'll jump on that.
Back when I was in Colorado, I did some TV stuff, and now that I'm up here in northern Wisconsin, clearly the options aren't as numerous. But it's one of those like it's always fun to do TV, but kind of like you just said with the contender thing or the Dana White thing, like you do so much crazy shit, and then they don't use it, and you're like, we just wasted it. I mean, did you get paid to at least to do your thing or no?
Oh no, well, I got a ticket to UFC.
Okay, well I guess,
we got to a free show.
There you go.
I wasn't gonna say actually. Back home, I was an extra in a movie and got to shoot somebody. And,
That's cool.
It was, and it was all day filming until like 4 a.m, and I got $50 for it.
Do you still have the like? So I did a movie in high school. I still have it. Like, and I look. It's funny because I'm 40 some years old now. I was 16 in it. You know what I mean? And I such a baby face, but it's kind of cool to show my kid like this is what I used to look like.
No, but it's on Netflix, I think. So
cool.
The funding fell through for I want to say it was Straight Outta Compton, and I can never remember the name of the actor. He got a bunch of funding together, and they renamed it like The Hit. They just like changed a little bit of the storyline for it, and because I mean a majority of it was already filmed,
Sure.
and it was supposed to be straight out of Compton, and they were like, let's just fly the entire crew to Maine. We can film it for like a third of the price. And there's an ocean, so we can pretend it's the Pacific. No one will know the fucking difference.
Right.
And we were just joking around, being like, yeah, just make sure the camera's on this side, so it's on the left side so the water's on the left side of the screen. They'll think it's the Pacific Ocean.
That's too funny.
Yeah, so it's called The Hit. And yeah, it was funny. They just basically went down through the old port, which is like the bar district, and just went to like all the security. They're like, what are you doing on Saturday or next weekend? Like, get the shift off and, come down and wear a suit. And a bunch of us were like, fuck it, let's go. Let's do it.
One of my favorite things to follow you about is you always posted jackpots. What's the biggest jackpot? What's the most that you've ever, like, I love when you're like, oh, some dude just won 7,000. Like, I love that. I love being excited for people. What's the biggest jackpot you've seen, and what's the biggest that you've won?
I ain't telling you what I've won.
Oh, just
IRS is watching. No. No, biggest one I've won, I think, was 5,500. Biggest one I paid out was a few weeks ago, $24,000. But like in the beginning, I don't know, our machines have gotten better. So, and we've gotten better players, so they're starting to pay out more. But I think like between February and March, and maybe even April, I had, I think, 5 or 6 payouts over 10 grand, which was nice. And it's funny because like you even notice it. Oh, some guy just hit it. I'll have people respond every time like, man, I wish I was as lucky as you. And I'm like, I wish I was that lucky too. That's not me. Like, you don't understand. The gimmick out here in Vegas is you post that shit so that other people are watching in Vegas and they're like, damn, those machines are on fire. Josh is posting all the time. I got to get to Josh's bar and play. It helps with business, and plus also if they do come and they do play, the tip out, because I mean, like the unsaid rule on those is you get 10%, for, the good karma, the kickback, the doing the paperwork, facing the bills, doing all the bullshit. And it's like, all right, cool. Hey, congratulations. You just won $2,000. Like, here's $200, and doing that way is so much easier than working at like a fast paced bar where you're getting $1 per drink that you hand people. Like, fuck that.
So someone wins 24,000. Do you have 24,000 cash, or you cut them a check?
Oh, cash.
Oof, nice.
Yep.
But you have to fill out all the IRS tech stuff, yeah, or no?
Yeah, but with that one at our bar, it's pretty easy. Our gaming system, like once somebody wins one taxable, their driver's license number, social security card number is saved in our system, and I just spits the paperwork out almost immediately, and they sign it. And people get all worried about like, having to pay the taxes on it. They're like, oh, do you take the taxes out? And I'm like, why would you even do that? The IRS doesn't even search for people who have 10 or so taxables, especially if your address is Las Vegas and you have a shit ton of taxables. They know you have enough loss to write it off.
Okay.
So you take your pay or what you're playing, and every time you push the button, right? Say you're doing a $1 bet, that's $1 loss. That's $1 loss. That's $1 loss every single time. So like you have people who will win. It doesn't track what you physically put in a machine, but it'll say, over a year you have $100,000 lost, but you also won $20,000 worth of taxables. So it's all written off. Your losses are more than your wins. It's all gone. The people that get searched out are the people who live in like Minnesota who have one taxable and for $5,000 because they were walking through the airport and they were like, oh, let me play this, honey. And they hit it. And, because there's always those people.
Sure.
That person doesn't have the play to balance that off. That person's going to pay taxes. That person, the IRS is going to audit and go, hey, or if they have one taxable. People who like, I know a local here, she had one and the IRS audited her. I'm like, yes, because it looked like you didn't play. You just had one. And they were like, this girl just happened to hit something like walking into, plus all of our grocery stores and gas stations have slot machines.
Sure.
So you're in a gas station waiting for somebody, and you're like, fuck it, and you hit a taxable. That's what the IRS views you as when you have just one. But it's all right. You write all that shit off.
Okay, so I know you do the bartending thing right now while you're fighting because it's convenient and stuff. After you retire, I mean, is that you're gonna stick out there in Vegas? Do you want to head back? Like, what's your plan?
That's funny you say that because that's something that's kind of come up lately. I have a pretty much like a 4-year plan right now. I just spoke to one of my friends who's he like runs the school for the union for heavy equipment operators, and I thought that like you kind of like you get into the school and like you learn and you learn and you learn, you figure the shit out. Like, and I'd be doing that while bartending. Turns out they have like open testing once a year, and you go through, test, you get a good enough score, you're at the top of the list, and you essentially get hired on the spot.
Okay.
Like, say you're the highest person on the list, the very next opening for a machine operator, any machine, you get hired. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't have any training. He goes, I know. You go out there, and because I guess the way the union works, they have to have a certain percentage of apprentices on the job site. You can't just have all, journeymen. And you just go there, and they're like, yeah, I need you to jump in this and do this. And you're like, yeah, this is my first day. I have no idea. And they'll just take it, and they'll run you down. They'll go over there and be like, all right, this is this. You're like, yeah. Go off over here and fuck around for a few minutes and get comfortable, then come back and, do what I told you to do. And you're like, well, okay. And I'm like, shit. And immediately your starting pay is, I think, 36 an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it takes about 3 years to hit your hours to become a journeyman. And I was like, oh, wow, that's actually like really kind of convenient because, my son right now is a freshman in high school, larger than I was when I was a freshman in high school. He's already 230 pounds. He's friggin' little stud.
Yeah.
And he's fully engaged in playing college football. That's his main goal. I took him to the gym with me last week. We had a good workout together, and that's the plan. Is he going to play at UNLV? Probably not. Like, there's plenty of other schools. Sure. But at the end of the day, I'm locked into the city because of my son. So as soon as he decides where he goes to school, I'm selling the house, buying a toy hauler probably, and giving him my Jeep, buying a nice truck to haul the said toy hauler, and go run around the country and chase him a little bit, because unless he's someplace that I can drive to every single weekend, I'm not taking I'm not going to live here and have him play in like Idaho,
sure,
and take a flight every single weekend just to go see him. I would much rather, again, because I have no roots here, go there, post up in a trailer area or whatever, a camper thing, and find a union and work and just make sure I have Saturdays off so I can go watch his games on Saturday, and then after that, then when he's done with that, we'll see. End up someplace fun.
Okay. And then my last question for you, I know you've called out Zombo, you've called out some of the other guys. Everything goes according to plan. You knock out DeCastro. I mean, do you want like a big fight, like a Zombo, somebody in the top 5? Do you want Ben? Like, what do you want? Like, I know you got 3 fights left, but what do you want?
I think the ideal or hopeful. This is my hopeful plan. This is what I'm going for. Is after I beat DeCastro, I'm gonna call out Cubby Bear. He's ranked 1 above me. I'm 5. He's 4.
I'm shocked he's still ranked though, because they said that they were going to remove people if they hadn't fought in a year, and he hasn't fought in way over that.
Same. Yeah. I don't know why he's ranked there either. I can't even. I know he fought Hercules or whatever his name was.
Right.
Which whatever is
like
a joke.
2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I don't even know who his other fight was. He's had 2 wins, 1 loss.
Right. Yeah, I know he lost to Big Ben. Yeah, I don't remember his other one.
I can't think of it either. But rankings wise, I'm gonna call him out because above him you have Adams and blah 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 from Miami, the
Zombo.
Cuban
Yeah, yeah.
Sambo. Yeah, those two, which they're fighting in July.
Sure.
So that being said, I want to call out one person that's going to get me one move ahead because that fight in July is for the number one contender to be able to fight Rothwell.
Sure.
So me trying to call out Rothwell when there's already a pre-existing number one contender fight out there, stupid, waste of time. Best bet is to try to move myself up the ladder of rankings, have those two fight. Whoever wins fights Rothwell, and then after I fight Cubby Bear and win, I call out whoever the winner is. The be my third fight of my contract. Try to get a title fight, and see where that goes from there.
You say that, but I mean, you go out and you have a huge knockout against a Castro. Like I said, we've seen plenty of stuff where they like the next logical fight doesn't.
That was me. That's not going to happen. That's not. They're not going to do that with me. If it was vice versa or something, or if it was like somebody a name. I mean, shit. Fucking if Kleckler goes out and knocks out Porter in some crazy ass fashion, his ass will probably get a better chance to fight for a title faster than I would. Just because he's an existing name, and I don't get it, But no, I don't care what the hell I do to DeCastro. They're not bumping me immediately to a title fight. I'm gonna have to fight again. And like I said, it has to be somebody ranked this time, like preferably up, not down.
Sure.
And do that one, and then fight for the title after that. I think that's a good.
It's a solid plan.
Yeah, that is the plan. That's the plan. I've been talking about that one for a little bit now. Well, for the past few weeks.
Makes sense to me. Okay, I know you had some new sponsors and stuff come on board. Would you like to give any shout outs or thanks sponsors before we call it a night or a day?
Biggest sponsor right now that's come through new Alan Berube, who used to fight. He was in the Ultimate Fighter. He just came out with it's called Athlete Armor. You know how I can't think of the brand, but it looked like Clorox wipes where you'd pull the cleaning wipe out of the middle and you'd wipe down all your gear and stuff like that. But this one is it's it's a hand mitt. So you put it on your hand and it's made to wipe your body down so you don't get ringworm and you wipe your equipment down just kind of clean, and it's a better system than the wipes that would all ball up. So he's come on board. High Roller Customs out here in Vegas. They're sponsoring me. There's a vape shop that is opening in Westbrook, Maine, in I think a month. Luxury Vapes. They're gonna sponsor me. We gotta button up the last of it. I think Long Coast Drinks. They're gonna sponsor me again because they're out of Maine. It's the first seltzer with THC in it.
Okay.
So they sponsored me for Sturgis. I think they're back on board for this upcoming fight because I think they're trying to expand and try to get their bigger market, and they would try to with my fight try to push to get it into Mohegan Sun, which would be nice for them. I think that's it right now for who's on board for sponsors, but always got more space. But I need some bigger sponsors, those ones that pay, year round. Those ones are nice. Those ones that just don't pay for a single fight, I've been trying to get that OnlyFans sponsorship too. They pay nice. Shit, I'll show my ass for an extra buck. Like I said, I won't say no more than once. So,
All right. Well, you need to get a casino to sponsor. You know what I mean? You got the connections out there.
I think that would be more of a wait until it gets sanctioned out here in Vegas.
Yeah.
That's a big striving point for me because I have all these connections. That was going to be actually a hard one because when it does happen, I have all these things. And it's like, I can't sit there and have like, for example, 3 different casinos sponsor me, you know,
Sure.
like, it's like, I gotta have like one of these. And so it doesn't conflict with this. I have to have like one per branding kind of thing. Like, you know, like for, what's the word I'm trying to say?
Conflict of interest.
Lawyers wise, like lawyer help. And actually just reminded me, hold on, one more sponsor. I just remembered because, yeah, a lawyer, law11.com. It's through Nevada, mostly, California, Oregon, and they mostly handle motorcycle crashes. But like, that's like another one. It's just like lawyers. I know a few of those, and it's like, all right, so like, what do you handle? So like, I can't have like 4 different lawyers on my short. So no, when it comes time to have a show in Vegas, that's going to be a fun one to get on sponsors for, because I'm going to have a lot of options.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's always great to catch up. Like I said, I love chatting with you. You were a real dick. I'm going to be honest. You were kind of a dick. I kept trying to guess who you're fighting, and you wouldn't tell me. And you know, like, usually,
no, that was actually that. I was having so much fun with that.
Yeah, like usually, you know, I hear some inside stuff, but like, you know, it was back there, and I don't know any of the casters people, and usually someone leaks something to me, and you were adamant about not telling me, and it was kind of fun, but it was kind of like, what a dick.
Yeah, because it was almost like every morning I'd wake up with another heavyweight, like, this person, question mark, this person was on that card. This person hasn't fought in a while. How about this person? I'm just like, nope. And you were just straight cold. You never once guessed right.
No, I'm awful. All right. Well, we're still friends, but I'm harboring a little bit of resentment for that. So,
hey, it's all right. I'm not. I'll take it.
All right, man. All right. Thanks so much for your time. Can't wait to talk, and good luck, and can't wait to chat with you after your win.
Cool. Thanks very much.
See you, bud. Bye.
Later. And